and welcome to It's Terreana. I'm Terreana and today I'm going to do a video on my highlight and bronzing routine. I've been getting a lot of questions on itsterreana.com about how I contour and highlight and color correcting and things like that. So I want to make a video to make it a little bit easier to understand the process of what I do and my makeup routine and what I do on clients as well. I'm not going to talk you guys' ear clean off yet, but I have a lot of catching up to do, so let's go ahead and get into the video. So I zoomed you guys in a bit. Now I have my eye makeup already done and I'm here with just my bare skin. I have some primer on, but that's about it. So I'm going to go ahead and start with some foundation. The foundation that I'm going to use is by L'Oreal, the Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear. And I'm going to be mixing two shades because I've been at the beach a lot and I recently got a tan, so I'm kind of in between shades. So I'm going to be using shade 525 as well as 510. So in areas where I normally get oily, I'm going to be putting this Infallible Matte Lock Primer. This primer is also by L'Oreal. And it's just, it looks like this. It's kind of like a moisturizing consistency. It feels like kind of a lotion, but once it goes on your skin, it's not like that at all. It's very, very mattifying. So I'm gonna go ahead and start out with that because I have a lot of pores because I've been dealing with just texture issues from breaking out and stuff. I'm still kind of battling that with my skin, but it is getting much better. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that and let that sit there just for a little bit. Okay, so now I'm gonna just go ahead and take a few pumps of 510 because I'm mostly 510. So I'm just gonna put like maybe a half a pump of that. So I'm just taking like a half a pump of 510 and start with this. I'm going to take this Wayne Goss 13 brush and just apply that to my skin. Just buffing that. One of the questions that I got with contouring and highlighting is if you should apply it before or after foundation. I normally apply it after foundation. I feel like once you get your first layer of complexion product on, just adding the highlight and contour on top of it, you can kind of judge where your skin needs lightness and darkness. So that's why I like to start with a nice, clean, even canvas and do the foundation first. So I just added a little bit more of, 510. I'm just gonna buff this all over. Now, so as you can see, my skin is just kind of blank and flat. So to add a little bit of dimension, I'm going to take shade 525. And this is also going to help my foundation to kind of match my neck a little bit more. I just took maybe like not even a half a pump. I took like a fourth of a pump and I'm going to just buff this on the perimeter of my face. And then I'm going to bring it down just a little bit on my cheekbones here. So basically where the sun would naturally hit my skin, I'm going to apply that. And this is kind of the rule of thumb that I use for my clients as well. I take a look at their face before any foundation is on it, and I kind of see what features are popping and what features I want to highlight and things like that. And that's where I judge where I add darker foundation or lighter foundation. You can do this with concealer, you can do it with a darker foundation. If you're bronzing, I always suggest using a darker foundation because you kind of get more bang for your buck, because as the seasons change, you're gonna need another foundation anyway. So you can use that to deepen up your foundation, and then the lighter one you can use during like the winter months and things. As far as concealers, it works the same way. It's just more of a thicker consistency. So with concealers, you can get a darker one and a lighter one as well, and kind of gives the same effect. So just going back in and I'm just adding a little bit more foundation, and just still doing the same thing. So for beginners, I always suggest that you just kind of start out this way. You don't have to do anything too crazy. You just kind of follow the natural shape of your face, and then you just kind of put the darker color on the outside of your face. And then you can just bring it down just a little bit. And so this is where we are right now. So I'm starting to get back more dimension from my skin. You can also add a little bit like to the bridge of your nose. And sometimes you could just bring it down a little bit more on your forehead if you want to hide your 5 head like I have, but I like mine, girl, so I don't bring it down too much. That is just a really, really quick way that you can just highlight the skin and bronze the skin and make it look super, super, super natural. But we're gonna go a little bit further than that. So we start off with that. So I already have my base. Now I'm going to take a concealer and I'm gonna highlight and add a little bit more dimension to my skin. By adding a lighter concealer in areas, it just gives your face a little bit more dimension and makes it a lot less flat and a lot more natural. So for highlight, I don't like to go too bright of a highlight, especially if you're in flash photography. You can get a lot of flashback. We're gonna go ahead and start with this concealer. This is by Revlon in the shade 060. And that looks like this. And this is the applicator for that. It's a nice size, and I like how it's curved too.
That's what she said!
So I'm gonna go ahead and put some concealer underneath my eyes. And I'm gonna bring it all the way up to the bridge of my nose. And by doing this, because there is a contrast in color, it's gonna make my nose look like I actually have a bridge. I don't really have a bridge on my nose, so I try to define it a little bit more. As soon as I put foundation on, the bridge of my nose pretty much disappears. So this will just kind of help define it a little bit more. And then I'm just gonna highlight down here just a little bit, because I don't want to accentuate my forehead very much, but I do want this look to be balanced. So depending on the face shape, you just pick what features you want to highlight. And so I say to highlight the areas that you naturally have. Yes, you can always like cheat it and enhance and do things like that, but for everyday look, you really don't need that. So just a little bit of brightening will do you fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my beauty blender. I forgot to wet it, so I'm just gonna spray it with some Fix Plus. Now I'm gonna go ahead and blend out the concealer. You can allow it to sit a little bit longer, and that would make it get a little bit dry, but once it gets a little bit dry, you'll have more coverage, but it also takes a little bit longer to blend. So you just be the judge of that, depending on what formula you do. Sometimes you're in the mood for that, sometimes you're not. So today, I'm not in the mood, so I'm gonna go ahead and just blend it out right away. So I'm gonna start by blending out the edges. And I'm just taking this blender and just pouncing it on the edges. So I want more coverage underneath the eye there, but notice that I didn't put it like right underneath the lash line because I don't need it to be caking up under there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and blend that out on both sides. Now I don't have like deep dark circles. Those who have dark circles or have a little bit of tiredness under the eyes, color correcting is a great way to counteract that. So if you have some purplish tones underneath your eyes, go with like a peachier concealer. It's best to have something that already has a corrector in it. That way you don't have to use as much products and you don't have to buy a lot of stuff too. Alright, so that's all blended. So slowly you see that I'm starting to build up the lightness and darkness in my face so that it looks just more fresh and more like my face normally would if I didn't have makeup on. and that's always what we're kind of going for. I know some people always want to have a beat face, and I like a beat face too, but sometimes you just want to look a little bit more natural. And the questions I've been getting are from people who like more of a natural look. I definitely want to cater this video towards you naturalistas out there. So this is where we are right now. So expanding more on correctors. So as far as redness on the skin, if you refer to the color wheel, you always want to try and get everything balanced. So everything opposite on the color wheel will help you balance out. So as far as acne scars and rosacea, if they're red, more like active pimples, at the end of the day, when it comes to texture, you really can't do anything with that. You're gonna have to just work with the skin you have. But the coloring underneath, you can counteract that with a corrector. So as far as red marks, if you use something green, it'll help balance out that. So if you use like a green corrector and you apply a very thin layer on top, set it with a little bit of translucent powder so it doesn't move, and then apply your regular concealer or foundation on top, that will help you conceal those areas. As far as dark circles, which are either purplish or bluish, you can counteract that with a more salmon, peachy corrector. You apply that first. Depending on the area, you want to set it with a light translucent powder so it doesn't move, and then follow up with either your concealer or foundation of choice. I'm just going to blend out a little bit more since I've been talking and I have all kinds of expression lines. So now I want to go ahead and set it with some powder. And I'm using the setting powder by Beauty Bakery, and this is in the shade yellow. I mixed it with another powder because of my tan. The yellow was just a little too bright for me, so I had to tone it down just a bit. But I'm just gonna go ahead and set this area. If you have a lot of fine lines underneath your eyes, I just recommend that you use just like a light dusting, because you don't want a lot of cakiness and dryness underneath the eye. But here in Guam, it is hot, so powder is my best friend right now. Otherwise, any type of makeup will just roll right off my face, and nobody is trying to have that. So now I'm just going through and I'm setting all the areas that normally crease on me. So I'm doing my smile lines because I'm always smiling and yapping it up underneath my eyes and basically everywhere that I put the concealer. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit of a guide here to help me with my bronzing so it doesn't get all crazy. So that's what I do there. Having like a nice setting powder will give you a guide of where to bronze at. So I like to bronze just in the same areas where I put the darker foundation. I'm going to use this one by Fenty, and this is in the shade Caramel Cutie. I like this because it's bronzy, but it seems to have just like a slight gray undertone. So it's not super warm. It's just like the perfect shade for me right now. So in those same areas, I'm going to take this powder and kind of just set my foundation. You can do this if you had a mineral powder as well. Like if you're using a mineral powder foundation, you can use powders to highlight and contour as well, but I always feel like liquid just looks so much more natural on the skin. So if you already have it and don't feel like buying a new product, that's what you can do. Otherwise, I like to set my liquid foundation with powders. So I'm just going around the perimeter, following up here. This is just slightly underneath my cheekbones and slightly on my cheekbones. Because when I smile, these all get hit by the sun. So I don't want my bronzer to be in the wrong place. So that's why I put it in places where I smile as well as when I'm not smiling at all. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just gonna keep adding this and blending it out. So it's kind of in the shape of a 3. So you start here, here, and here. And then just blend. This is a nice fluffy brush. Looks like this. And I just love it. I just love how fluffy it is. It just blends out powder products so nicely. All right, so now that that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and apply my blush. And blush is the first thing to fade away, so I always add a little bit extra. Especially with my clients, I always add a little bit extra for photos. Alright, so that powder has been sitting a good amount of time, so I'm going to dust it all away. And then I'm going to kind of just take this brush and just buff everything in. Okay, so now as far as contour, I am going to take this brush here by NARS, and I'm going to take this 27 by Melt Cosmetics, and I'm going to take the color One More Thing. It's like a taupe color, and I'm going to use that just for a little bit of contouring so you guys can kind of get an idea of where I would place it if I'm doing a contour. So as far as contour, I would always start right about here. So I'm going to go right underneath there at the hollows of my cheek, and then I'm going to go about halfway down. So right there, a little bit above. Place it right there. And then do the same thing there. This is pretty much the perfect color for me right now. And so I'm just gonna take that and blend it into my bronzer because I just want it to look nice and natural and very well blended. Alright, so I have my contour, I have my bronzer above it and also blend it with it, and then I have my, what do I have? Blush. I don't know why it took me so long to think of that word. Now that I have all that done, I'm gonna go ahead and highlight. And I'm gonna take this one by Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's the So Hollywood Loose Highlighter Powder, and it is gorgeous. Look at this packaging, it's so pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit of this, and I'm going to put it on my other highlighting brush by Wayne Goss again. And then I'm going to put it just right here. You see how I already have like kind of a sheen? I'm going to amplify that. So I'm just gonna take it and put it right there on the cheekbone and then just blend it out. I don't really wanna go past where my eye area is here, so I wanna stay there for the highlight. That way when you turn, you can see it. And so I want to do that on both sides. And a little goes a long way with this. And you could also enhance the areas that you highlighted before, like down the bridge of the nose and the forehead, but I really don't need to do that because I already have a very large forehead, but I do highlight right here on the middle of my nose just to bring a little bit of lightness there. I put it here just to enhance the bridge in my nose, basically. Gives my nose just a little bit more shape. And then I'm gonna take that same color and then just contour my nose just a little bit. And I'm just going to go in just slightly. Just to define my nose. I'm not trying to create a whole plastic surgery situation. Just give myself just a little bit more of a bridge that's more defined. Okay, so that's what we have right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish the rest of my face. I'm gonna just clean up my eye look, spray my face, add a lippy, and then I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So for the lips, I used Jewels on Jewels from the Aladdin collection. My sister-in-law sent me some stuff from the Aladdin collection, and I just love it. So this is the lippy that I'm using. I just threw on a gloss. And for the eyes, I'm using some shadows by Melt Cosmetics and some by Pat McGrath. But the main shadows that I'm using is from the 27 palette. So it's a great multi-use palette. And yes, for my contour, I did use that taupe shade from inside the palette. So you can definitely use eyeshadows for contouring and bronzing as well, because it's just makeup. There's no real rule. So you can use whatever your skin allows you to use. Sometimes people might be sensitive to some ingredients, so I always suggest looking at the ingredients first before you apply certain things to your skin, but that comes with anything with makeup. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for stopping by my channel. I'm really sorry that I've been MIA for a while, but I've just kind of been trying to live my life. I've kind of just been away from socials just for a little bit because it's summertime. I'm a mom, my son's home, so I'm just trying to keep him busy. And I've been doing some hair and makeup locally for some photographers in the area, very part-time, but that still keeps me busy, along with running some Facebook groups and things like that. It's super important to enjoy your life on socials, but off as well. And that's kind of what I've been doing. So please excuse my absence, but I'm back and I'm gonna be slowly adding more content onto YouTube as well as my website. So don't forget to check out itsterreana.com if you want some more in-depth tips on how to bronze and contour and highlight, as well as color correcting and some of my tips and tricks. I think that's it. I think I did a pretty good job of talking your ear clean off. So you've been here this long. So go ahead and check out some of my other videos and share this one if you love it. And check me out on my other socials, my website, itsterreana.com. Instagram is It's Terreana. Snapchat, It's Terreana, but I'm not super active on there. Twitter, not so much, but I have all the socials, so check me out. All right, bye guys.